Found a nest of black widows living inside of that. Most people fear spiders. They detest them. And yet, I found them endlessly fascinating. Found a great comfort in them. The kinship. Like me, they are solitary creatures and deeply misunderstood.
What if Stranger Things has been lying to us about Vecna from the start? We're all supposed to believe the mystery is solved. Henry Creel is 001. 001 is Vecna. Vecna is the Mind Flayer's general. Roll credits, theory over. But the more you look at how Dungeons & Dragons actually treats Vecna, and the more you look at Henry's story, the more something feels off. I'm still convinced Henry Creel isn't Vecna at all. He's in the role of Kaz the Bloody-Handed.
They are gods of our world. They immobilize and feed on the weak, bringing balance and order to an unstable ecosystem. But the human world was disrupting this harmony. Humans are a unique type of pest, multiplying, poisoning our world, all while enforcing a structure of their own.
If you know your D&D lore, Vecna isn't just another big bad. He's the level 20 problem, the kind of lich that no normal party can beat straight up. Even the gods are scared of him, and the only reason Vecna ever falls is because of Cass. Cass starts out as a good man, a loyal lieutenant, a hero type who gets twisted, corrupted, and turned into a monster by Vecna himself. Vecna literally gives Cass his power. He forges the one weapon that can kill him, puts it in Cass's hand, and thinks he's still in control. Cass becomes a brutal, vampiric enforcer. But in a single moment of clarity, Cass turns, swings that sword, and deals the killing blow that destroys Vecna and destroys himself. That is not the story of a pure villain. That is the story of Henry Creel. Look at Henry before the Creel House massacre. Strip away the horror framing for a second. You've got a quiet, sensitive boy in a broken family, stuck in a world he doesn't understand, terrified by the cruelty he sees around him. He feels the world is a cruel, hateful place, and instead of anyone helping him, he's shipped off to Brenner and turned into a lab rat. That's not a mustache-twirling villain origin. That's a Cass setup. Cass was a good person who got rewritten by Vecna's magic. Henry is a good person who got rewritten by the Mind Flayer and Brenner's experiments. We watch him get pushed, carved up, literally numbered. 001 isn't a name, it's a brand, it's ownership. And here's the key detail. Henry never calls himself Vecna. The name Vecna comes from the kids at the table. Just like the Demogorgon, just like the Mind Flayer, they're using D&D language to describe something they don't fully understand. The show has always separated the naming the party uses from the true nature of what's going on in the Upside Down. So what if Henry isn't Vecna in the D&D sense at all? What if Henry is Cass, and the real Vecna is the entity behind the Mind Flayer? Think about how the Mind Flayer is framed. It's not just a monster, it's a shape, a concept, a storm made of particles. Will describes it like a presence in his mind, watching, feeling, waiting. This thing has been around long before Henry. He doesn't create it. He connects to it. He becomes its favorite piece on the board. Cass serves Vecna. Henry serves the Mind Flayer. Cass is given monstrous power. Henry is given monstrous power. Cass is twisted into something almost undead. Henry is literally shredded apart and rebuilt into the vine-covered creature we call Vecna, hanging there like a puppet on dark nerves. Even visually, he looks less like a self-contained villain and more like a conduit, a channel. A body wired into something much worse. And just like Cass, Henry seems to have these flashes of humanity under all the horror. Listen to the way he talks to Eleven in the lab. He isn't wrong about Brenner. He isn't wrong about the abuse. He isn't wrong that they are both prisoners. You can feel that human boy still in there, even as his worldview is being warped into something lethal. It's the same tragic energy as Cass. A once good man who's been bent so far, he can't see the light anymore. So here's the first theory. Henry Creel is Kaz the Bloody-Handed, not Vecna. He's the corrupted lieutenant, the weapon, the puppet wrapped in vines. And in Stranger Things 5, we're going to find out that the real Vecna is the mind behind the Mind Flayer, the true Lich, the thing that turned Henry into this undead-like horror in the first place. That solves the level 20 Vecna problem perfectly. You don't beat a god-tier villain by having 11, just push harder. You beat him the way D&D beats him. You make his own champion turn on him. You make Kays remember who he was. Now here's the second theory. What if Cass isn't Henry at all? What if Cass is Will Byers? Will is the first kid the Upside Down really chooses. He's the one who survives a full week in that nightmare when he should have died. He's the one who sings, who hides, who fights, and lives. When everyone else comes back, traumatized, but clean, Will comes back with something still inside him. He's cold all the time. He feels the Mind Flayer. His neck tingles. He knows when the shadow is near. That connection never fully goes away. That's exactly what you'd expect if he's being set up as Cass. Cass is Vecna's right hand, but he's also his greatest mistake. Will is perfectly positioned to become that. He's quiet, sensitive, and has already been used as a spy, a puppet, a vessel. And for 4 seasons, the show has made it clear. Will still feels like the outsider in his own party. He's the kid who got left behind socially, emotionally, romantically. That's a lot of pain sitting right next to the thing in his head that feeds on pain. Imagine Stranger Things. 5 leans into that. The party is focused on 11 versus Vecna, on closing gates, on leveling up, and meanwhile, Will is slowly changing. The connection in his neck stops being just a warning and starts becoming a temptation. He hears the Mind Flayer. It offers him power, a chance not to be the victim, not to be the kid in the back of the frame. For once, Will gets to be the one who decides what happens next. That's the beginning of a Cass arc, so Will clouds over, maybe lashes out. Maybe, for a stretch of episodes, he becomes the enemy. The party has to fight one of their own. Henry, the Vecna we've known, doubles down as the visible threat. But the real story is inside Will's mind, where this war between the human boy and the thing that owns him is reaching a breaking point. And then we reach the classic Cass moment. In D&D, Vecna gives Cass the only weapon that can kill him. In Stranger Things, that weapon might not be a literal sword. It might be Will's psychic bond to the Mind Flayer. It might be a shared memory that can reach the core of the monster. It might be his love for his friends, focused through the very connection Vecna thinks he controls. In the final fight, Vecna uses Will as the perfect puppet, pouring his power through him, absolutely sure he cannot lose. And that's when Will turns. In a single burst of clarity, Will uses that power against the source. He channels everything the Mind Flayer gave him and detonates it back into Vecna. Maybe Henry/Cass is involved. Maybe both of them, the 2 most broken boys in this story, team up in one last act of rebellion. Either way, Cass does what Cass always does. He kills Vecna, and he dies with him. Will sacrifices himself to save the party. Henry finally breaks free of the thing that's been wearing his face. The level 20 problem gets solved not by brute force, but by tragic, heroic betrayal. Just like the D&D story has always promised. So I don't think Stranger Things ends with Henry was Vecna all along, the end. I think the real twist is that Henry Creel and Will Byers are both playing the Cass role in different ways, and the true Vecna, the real mind behind the Flayer, is still waiting for someone he trusts to stab him in the heart. Whether you think Cass is Henry, Will, or both, tell me in the comments who you want to see deal the killing blow. And if you're still watching, drop Cass down below so I know you're part of the party.
Vecna is out of his mind. He's opening other doorways, and we don't know where they lead.
We all are ready for one last war.
Stranger Things 5 wants you to believe one thing. Vecna is the big bad, the final villain, the monster at the end of everything. But if you look closely at the lore, the Dungeons & Dragons parallels, and the way Volume 1 treats Will Byers and Dimension X, that story does not add up. In this video, Vecna is not the final boss. In Stranger Things 5, we are going to talk about why Vecna is more like the mid-game boss. We will look at the Mind Flayer as the real hive mind, Will Byers as the possible endgame threat.
I know it's hard to talk about, but these visions, were they like before? Like when you had your now memories?
It's like I was there. I was right there. I was seeing what it was seeing and thinking what it was thinking. I must have somehow tapped back into the hive mind.
And how the show has been hinting at a bigger power behind Vecna since Season 1. Let us start with what we know about Vecna. Henry Creel goes to Dimension X as a child. He is exposed to the particles that will later form the Mind Flayer. He survives, comes back different, and ends up in Hawkins' lab as Subject 1. When 11 blasts him through the wall, he falls into the hellscape, then is reshaped by the hive mind into the monster we call Vecna. That sounds impressive, but listen to the order. Dimension X and the particles come first. The hive mind comes first. Henry comes later. That alone tells us Vecna is not the origin of this evil. He is a vessel. In Dungeons & Dragons, Vecna is a powerful lich, even a god in some versions. But even he is not the only top-tier threat. There are elder evils, primordials, and cosmic entities above him. The Duffers know this. They named him Vecna on purpose. Now think about the Mind Flayer. In Season 3, the Mind Flayer builds a physical body out of people and animals. When 11 injures that body, the Mind Flayer does not die. It retreats. In Season 4, we see that the storm-like shape in the upside-down sky existed before Henry. He did not create it. He shaped it. That is a key line. Vecna shapes the Mind Flayer like a spider because that is the form he understands. But the intelligence itself is older, bigger, and not fully visible. So if Vecna is the general, who is the king? The simplest answer is that the Mind Flayer, or whatever lives inside Dimension X, is the true final boss. Vecna is its favorite champion, but not the source. Then there is Will Byers. From Season 1, Will has been marked in a way nobody else has. He spends days in the Upside Down. He breathes the particles. In Season 2, a vine wraps around his throat and pours the Mind Flayer into him. He becomes a human relay. He feels temperature changes when the Mind Flayer is near. He hears it. He knows where it is.
This time, I didn't run. This time, I stood my ground. Easy peasy, right?
Easy peasy.
Just like that.
By Season 5, the show is clear. Will is the beginning and the end. Not Vecna, Will. If you were running this as a D&D campaign, you would see the pattern. The first kid taken. The one who survived the longest exposure. The one still connected to the hive mind years later. That is not just a victim, that is an anchor. There is a strong chance the final conflict of Stranger Things 5 is not 11 versus Vecna. It is the party versus whatever the hive mind wants to do with Will. Now, let us zoom out to the structure. Season 1 introduces a small Demogorgon. Season 2 introduces the Mind Flayer in shadow form. Season 3 gives it a body. Season 4 gives us Vecna as the face and the backstory. Season 5 ties it all together. If Vecna was the final boss, Stranger Things 4 would have killed him. The fact that he survives means he still has a role to play, but probably not as the last enemy. Think about other big stories. In many fantasy series, the villain you meet in the middle is there to teach you the rules of the true evil. They show you what the big threat can do on a smaller scale. Once you understand that, the story can reveal the real thing. Vecna shows us. The hive mind can twist human trauma. It can build bodies. It can rearrange time inside a mind. It can infect and reshape a human into a monster. That is terrifying. But it might only be phase 1. The real nightmare is what happens if the Mind Flayer, or the Dimension X intelligence, moves past needing Vecna at all. Imagine it using Will, or the entire upside-down copy of Hawkins, as its new core. At that point, killing Vecna would be like breaking one finger on a giant hand. So what does a final boss look like in Stranger Things 5? It might be Will fully taken over, forcing his friends to choose between saving him and saving the world. The Mind Flayer manifesting in a new form that is not tied to one body. Time itself bending, with the upside down locked on November 6, 1983, for a reason that only makes sense at the end. In all of those versions, Vecna is still important. He is the doorway, the teacher, the first nightmare. But he is not the last one. Here is the simple way to think about it. Vecna is the face of the enemy we understand. The Mind Flayer, Dimension X, and Will Byers are the parts we do not fully understand yet. Final bosses in stories are almost always tied to the deepest mystery, not the loudest monster. So as you watch Stranger Things 5 Volume 2 and the finale, do not just ask, will they beat Vecna? Ask, who gave Vecna his power? What does that thing really want? And what happens to Will if they win? Because when the screen cuts to black for the last time, the real question will not be how Vecna fell. It will be what price Hawkins had to pay to stop the thing behind him.
You have already lost.
No, you have.
Stranger Things 5. Volume 1 gave us bigger stakes, darker horror, and some of the most powerful scenes 11 has ever had. But there is one thing Volume 1 quietly proves. Even after all this time, 11 still cannot beat Vecna. It is not because she is weak, it is because of what I call the level 20 problem. In this video, why 11 still can't beat Vecna. In Volume 2, we are going to treat Stranger Things 5 like a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. We will talk about what level Vecna is actually playing at, what level 11 and the party are stuck on, and what kind of power up they still need before the final fight. Let us start with the basics. In Dungeons & Dragons, Vecna is not a random monster. He is a legendary god-tier villain.
You believed you could end this, end me. But all you can do now is witness the world I'm about to unleash.
A lich, a wizard, and eventually a full-on deity. In game terms, he is a level 20 style boss. That means if you send in a group of low-level characters, they are not meant to win. They are meant to survive, learn, and run. Now look at Stranger Things. By the time we reach Season 5, Vecna has survived Dimension X, merged with the hive mind behind the Upside Down, learned how to invade minds, rewrite memories, and reshape the environment around him. He is not just physically dangerous. He controls the battlefield, the timing, and the rules. In D&D terms, he has legendary actions, lair actions, resistances, and a full spell list. 11 is powerful, but she is not built like that. Her powers came from exposure to the same Dimension X source, filtered through human experiments. She has huge bursts of telekinesis. She can enter the void. She can connect minds. But every season shows us the same thing. Her power has limits. She gets nosebleeds. She collapses. She loses access to her abilities under stress. She needs training to get them back. In Volume 1 of Stranger Things 5, we see that the gap between a human-level psychic and a hive-linked cosmic entity is still massive. Think about the last big confrontation we saw before Season 5. At the end of Season 4, 11 manages to save Max's life, but she does not truly stop Vecna. He completes his ritual. The gates open. Hawkins is damaged. The board is changed. That is what a failed boss fight looks like in a campaign. You do not get a total party kill. You get a partial win with a heavy cost, and the villain moves to the next phase of their plan. Volume 1 of Season 5 continues that pattern. 11 is stronger and more focused, but Vecna is no longer just one creature. He is a will that can move through the Upside Down, through human minds, and through the connection to Will Byers. So if Vecna is playing at level 20, where is 11? Right now, she feels like a level 12 or 13 character fighting above her weight. She can win small fights. She can hold him off. She can protect individual people for a while. But when it comes to a straight one-on-one, full power, no distractions fight, the story keeps showing us that she is not there yet. In D&D, there are only 3 ways to win that kind of fight. Number 1, you level up. You gain new abilities, more hit points, and better stats. Number 2, you find better loot. Magic items, artifacts, or outside help that change the rules of the battle. Number 3, you change the objective. Instead of killing the boss, you cut off their power source, trap them, or break their connection to the world. Stranger Things 5. Volume 1 hints that the show is going to use all 3. 11 still has room to grow. We have seen her regain powers in Season 4. Season 5 hints that her connection to Will and to Dimension X might unlock new abilities we have not fully seen yet. That is the natural level up. Then there is loot. In this story, loot does not have to be a sword or a wand. It can be information. It can be a device left over from Project Philadelphia. It can be a ritual, a song, or a map of the mindscape that lets the party attack Vecna where he is weak. Volume 1 spends a lot of time on lore. Dimension X, the first shadow, the early experiments. That is not filler. That is the story handing the party the equivalent of magic items. And finally, there is the objective. If Vecna is truly tied into a hive mind that spans Dimension X, the Upside Down, and Will Byers, then killing his physical body may not be enough. The party might need to sever the link with Will, collapse the bridge between dimensions, or force Vecna back into a form where he is no longer a level 20 god, but just Henry Creel again. That is why 11 cannot win yet in Volume 2. Because from a story and D&D perspective, it is too early. The party is still learning the rules of the final fight. So when you watch Stranger Things 5 Volume 2 on Christmas, do not expect a clean win. Expect a mid-campaign boss phase. A brutal fight that teaches 11 and the others exactly what kind of power up they need before the finale. Here is the simple way to think about it. Vecna is built like a level 20 boss. 11 is still leveling up, Volume 2 is not about beating him. It is about surviving long enough to learn how he can be beaten. Now that you know why 11 still cannot beat Vecna in Volume 2, the next question is, what if Vecna is not even the final boss? In my next video, I break down why Vecna might only be the mid-game villain, and who the real end boss of Stranger Things 5 could be. Click that next, and let us keep looking at this story like the D&D campaign it is.